live and online. It's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.
Back and better than ever at Sleepless with Steve, live and in living color on YouTube on this Wednesday evening, wherever you may be, however you may be listening. Sleepless with Steve in full swing. Full disclosure, when I talk about this show, when you can talk about next week's show, I'll be off next week on vacation. Looking forward to it. Much, much needed. As you could probably tell from the wear on my face, much needed vacation next week. Very excited. These two gents, though, will be celebrating the week of Halloween, right? Well, technically the week before. They'll be celebrating the first show leading up to Halloween next week by talking about 2022 in horror movies. And there's no shortage of stuff to talk about. I'm honestly kind of mad that I'm going to miss that show next week. Because of the fact that I have a lot of points I could bring up. It has been, of all the genres, I think, so far this year, horror has probably been the strongest, or at least the most noteworthy. I think we're going to come away with a lot of movies that are going to stand the test of time and at least be talked about and viewed in the coming years. Don't want to get ahead of myself. Don't want to tease too much. Joe and Dom are here next week, though, and hopefully, I don't know, I have so much crap I'm doing next week on vacation. I actually made a list. Over here of like day by day what I have to do or what I'm doing, most of which is going to be very fun things. I'll have to see where I don't even know where I'm going to be Wednesday night, so I'm going to have to try and tune in at least. But that being said, we've got a great show for you today. The dichotomy of Sleepless with Steve topics never fails, because today we're talking Halloween Ends and then we're talking Cartoon Network. So this is fun. We are definitely doing it right here. But moreover, my I guess I was going to say better halves, but that doesn't make any sense. My other two legs of the tripod, to employ a Girl Next Door reference. Joe Viso, Dominic Guanzon in the trademark blue polo. How are you gents doing? Dom, start with you.
Doing all right. I'm under the weather. I don't think it's actually as bad right now, but it can fluctuate. But
it's his turn to be sick on the show. It's his turn to be sick.
It's runny nose and a cough. Haven't coughed yet, knock on wood, but we'll see. But yeah, I think it's just the seasonal thing. I love how COVID, everyone just completely glossed over the flu, as they should. But it's like, oh yeah, we actually beat the flu for like just a hot moment in time, just a little teensy moment in time, because we were all staying safe and being healthy and committing ourselves to healthy practices, and then all of that went away for a lot of people, at least. So we'll see where the flu numbers stand come this winter. But for now, I'll be all right. I got some good immunity. I'm taking that emergency and getting some rest, drinking water. A lot of water, even more water than I usually do. So.
You're on your Jack Harlow lifestyle, drinking water and wearing protection.
I understand that reference. No, I don't. But yes, yeah.
Yeah, I got my flu shot yesterday. I was telling Dom in the green room, I got my flu shot yesterday. 11 of the last 12 years I've gotten it. I've gotten the flu shot. I always prioritize getting it. And the 1 year I didn't get it, I got awfully sick. And I remember it was the year 2012 when Django Unchained came out, and I was brutally sick all through Christmas that year, all through that 2-week winter break you look forward to of school all year in high school. I was sick that whole 2 weeks. It was miserable. That was the 1 year I neglected to get the flu shot. So I always get it every year. Get your damn flu shot. Joe, how are you?
I'm doing really good. Hoping that whole this whole good feeling I have right now just kind of carries on. It feels nice when I just have weekends now to do stuff, and I'm not like pressing for time to go see movies. Like I can go to Thursday night movies again, because that rarely happens during the summer. When it does, it has to be something I really want to see. Like Nope, and I think Top Gun were the two movies I saw on a Thursday night premiere. Everything else I had to see Friday, Saturday, or Sunday when I had time. But I love seeing movies on Thursdays because like it gives me my whole weekend then, and it gives me a long time to actually like write down notes on these reviews compared to like the summer when I'm like super busy with events and I'm seeing the damn thing on Tuesday and I just come in hot like, okay, well this is what I thought of the film. And with something like this that we're going to review tonight, I felt like the more time I had to think about it, the better.
For sure. Yeah, this has definitely sat with me, too. I guess we'll jump into Halloween Ends right here, start reviewing that. First things first, got to show you what a nerd your boy is over here. I actually bought these after Sleepless last week because I thought about getting them last year, but I didn't. And if I was smart, I would have done a Halloween movie marathon this October, but it probably wouldn't have worked out. I've just been so busy this month and stuff. But I want to do it next year. But anyway, look what your boy got over here. I got both novelizations for Halloween and Halloween Kills. 60 pages deep into this bad boy too, as of yesterday. Read more today. I got Halloween Ends coming. That's pre-order. That doesn't come out till next week, but let me tell you, we talked about this a little bit with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I love the look of a movie novelization over here. This is a bygone art. I was actually shocked that they still made these.
You gotta let me know how these novelizations are, because like I'm currently reading like some Stephen King stuff, so I'm like in the mood for horror. So like jumping off to that to the Halloween novelizations, if they add a lot more context and things to the movie, I would gladly pick that up.
So yeah, that's kind of weird. A lot of novelization of Stephen King movies. That's so cool.
Okay,
that took a hot second.
I did, yeah. I was like, "What the hell?" Yeah.
The brief thing. It's not a review of the book because I haven't even finished it yet. But I just say this though. This isn't like, and again, I reference Once Upon a Time in Hollywood just because it was the first movie novelization I read in years. But like. 60 pages in, I don't know, and I've seen this movie twice, the 2018 Halloween. I don't think it really adds a lot, like in terms of like, oh, this didn't, at least so far, within the first 60 pages. I don't recognize anything that wasn't in the movies, but it's just the added mental context of certain characters and whatnot that I think is interesting. And John Passarella, the author of this, his writing style is very good. He's got a very absorbing writing style. This man clearly like definitely has a way with some like unique verbs and adjectives that I really respect. Double salute. It's very good though. I like I said, I'm gonna try. I think I could probably tackle with the weather getting colder. I can probably tackle this trilogy fairly quickly. So I will keep you posted. And if any of them are worth reviewing, by the time I finish them, it'll be post Halloween. But if any of them are worth reviewing and we have a slow week, maybe we'll see. We shall see. But I wanted to mention
do the whole trilogy. Like, just, like, knock out all three in, like, one review and be like, hey, yeah, like, this adds, like, so much.
I thought about, like, making it, like, an essay on my website or something. You know, I've never really done a book review before, but I think that, if these lead me for something to talk about, I will do just that. But anyway, Halloween Ends now in theaters, and man, it took me maybe, like, a half hour, 45 minutes into this thing before I realized, and I was pretty happy to realize it. I was like, this thing is going to piss a lot of people off. And I am so here for it. I am so here for it because you know what? I don't know what you guys truly thought of it, and I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on it. But I emerged from the theater very happy for two big reasons, okay? Let me tell you right now. One, I see this as a fitting conclusion to a trilogy that's better than the original trilogy. That's your first hot take, number one. Number two, I emerged very happy because in enjoying this movie as much as I did, I will be 5 to 10 years ahead of everybody else when this goddamn thing is a certified classic. I will have been here first. Because, man, this movie has been divisive. This is the season of the witch of the trilogy. This truly is. Although it does have Michael Myers in it. And there's an interesting thing to note. I sent it to Joe. I didn't send it to you, Dom, because at the time I didn't know if you had seen the movie or not. So I wanted to, even though it really wasn't a spoiler, I sent it to Joe, and it was interesting. The original, for the first two Halloween movies, Halloween from 78 and Halloween 2, the title cards were orange. When the title card came on the screen, the text
I saw that. I think the social media, I think you shared it, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and the new ones, Halloween and Halloween Kills, had orange text. Halloween Ends, like Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, the one that does not have Michael Myers in it, were teal blue. And I caught that. I actually caught that in the theater because I was like, this is going to be different because they're usually orange, or there's usually something there's usually something different here. And this movie, it's hard to talk about this thing without diving into spoiler territory, but
yeah.
So that's going to be a challenge. But the first things first, though, the movie is essentially, it introduces a new character, a young man named Corey, played by Rohan Campbell, who was involved in a tragedy as a teenager, and the town of Haddonfield, a few years removed from the last Michael Myers killing spree, has kind of looked at him as like the punching bag, as the new villain of the town. He winds up becoming friends with Allison, Laurie Strode's granddaughter, played by I always butcher her name, Andy Matichak. And he winds up becoming friends with her. And it seems that they both connect because they both have had traumatic lives, clearly. But where Allison is more focused on like the healing process, Corey's more focused on the vengeance process over here, the processing of his emotions in a violent manner, which leads to a Michael Myers connection there. And then you have Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, who I guess second only to the more shocking like twist of this movie and how and like who the actual like primary villain is. I think the other shocking thing is that like Laurie Strode is pretty put together in this movie compared to the last two movies. Like, damn, this woman came back on the grid living in suburbia over here. That was pretty surprising. There is really two major reasons I love this movie. I'm gonna table those for a moment so I can get your guys' opinion. But there's two major reasons I love this movie, and part of it connects to my love for David Gordon Green, the writer and director for all three of these films. I'll throw it over to you, Joe. What say you generally about Halloween Ends?
So I want to share. This is gonna show like maybe where I align very early on, but I want to share the text I sent Steve as soon as the movie ended. So I literally texted Steve at Thursday night. I'm not going to use the one F word. I'll save it. But, man, are we going to be in the minority? And with that, it's because like I felt the same thing Steve felt about an hour and like 30 minutes into this. It's a significant moment. They do something with Michael Myers and another character. And I went, okay, this is going to be the point where either you hate this movie from here on out or you're going to be with it and you're actually digging that they're doing something different with Halloween for once. And I'm part of the latter along with Steve. I really like what this movie did. I really like that this is the Season of the Witch of the Halloween trilogy that David Gordon Green has done. Mostly because that last one, I think maybe Dom and I gave it the same rating. Maybe I did give it the lowest rating, but I gave it 2.5 because I just kind of felt like it started losing focus of kind of what that first film was doing, and it really took evil and PTSD with Laurie's character and what it has done to her. And they tried doing it with the whole town of Haddonfield, but like it was such a slaughter fest that I felt like it just kept getting lost with what it wanted to do. This movie to me, this movie to me actually made me go back and watch Halloween Kills and appreciate it more now. Which is something I didn't do before this movie came out. I went back and only watched the first 2018 Halloween movie. When I got home after this movie, I immediately went to go watch Kills on HBO Max.
You watch the extended cut or the theatrical cut?
I completely forgot about that extended cut thing you told me about, so I'm going to have to check that out another time. But this movie to me, while those two movies take their own idea of what evil does to a person, I like this movie, and I'm not going to try to ruin or spoil anything. I mean, I think a lot of people know it by now, but I'm still not going to say anything. But I really did dig the idea of, okay, what if, like, there is no evil to blame? Who the hell do we turn to now and take out our rage and anger on? And what does that end up creating for a town like Haddonfield? And, like, them experimenting to that made that so interesting. Like, this is more in line with that 2018 movie where I would say the first hour, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, it's mainly a drama. There are some kills, there are some horror moments, but it's mainly a drama. It's not until you get to the last 40 minutes of this movie, then it becomes a slasher film. And you're either going to be with that or not. I've been in chats with people. I've talked to people who are said, I came to see a Halloween movie. Where's my Michael Myers? And I said, you got him for 2 hours in the last movie, annihilating this town. Did you want that again? Because I swear to God, I saw you bitching on the internet when it was just that as well. Another comparison I want to bring up, and I like this movie. I know Steve liked it, didn't like it as much as I did. I think we all did. We all gave it a positive review. Just like, some of us weren't like as positive as I think I was. I think in retrospect, I gave this one the highest. But the recent Scream movie that came out at the start of this year, I look at that movie compared to this. That movie played it safe. It brought back the legacy characters. It didn't do anything really with them. But it played it safe, and it did everything step by step because it was making fun of the requel reboot thing that it was imitating. Which the example they brought up, oddly enough, was the 2018 Halloween movie. But this is the big difference. I had fun with Scream because it was just a fun slasher movie with some fun callbacks, and I love the meta of it. I'm a big fan of when like horror movies get all meta, or just movies in general. It can be fun. Sometimes it can be stupid. Scream usually does it pretty well. I will say this. While they are making fun of that and be like, oh yeah, they just don't do anything different. They just bring back the legacy characters and follow the same story beats. Really think about 2018's Halloween and where it has gone now in retrospect. And now look at what Scream is doing. And it's like, or look what Scream 5 did. And it's just like, yeah, you're actually doing what you're saying 2018 Halloween did. And now that I think about it, 2018 Halloween really isn't hitting or doing all these bullet points that you guys brought up. It's just mainly you guys and maybe like some of the other horror, like, I guess the new Hellraiser too. I guess you could see that comparison. But I was looking at it, I'm just like, man, this is so much better than what Scream was trying to like say about like the whole reboot with horror movies and stuff. And it got even better along the way with kills, and especially for me with ends as well. Dom, I'm gonna pass it off to you.
Yeah, I think this one had the balls to try something at the last inning. That being the third movie in this trilogy, and then like the eighth movie. I don't know, in this technical media franchise, but yeah, dude, I'm in agreement. And this is someone who doesn't care too much. I've seen a lot of slasher movies lately, thanks to you sons of bitches. But I'm not into slasher movies. I'm not a horror guy. That's my trope. That's my personal cliche. But I don't have much attachment to Halloween at all. So seeing them go off and try something was actually really refreshing. Because yeah, you're right. If you just wanted to see like people get stabbed or like a lot of blood for 2 hours, you've got those movies already. Just go to a butcher house and just watch them just cut up meat. That's all. If that's what you want, that's fine. That's what you'll get in many other movies, and good movies, I will say. I'm not even harping on it, but this one at the last inning decided to throw a curveball, going all in on baseball metaphors today, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, dude, I actually kind of liked it. And yeah, I agree with you. There's a scene in here where someone straight up mugs another person. And it's like, oh, they did that? And it's like,
that is the scene I'm talking about. It's like, you're either going to be with the movie at this point, or you're going to be like, I'm done.
And it works. I think it actually really works. Because they actually did something with it. And yeah, dude. It's not the cleanest way they could have done it. I don't know if there's a way to do this cleanly at all, not physically, but of course metaphorically. It's like, yeah, it gets a little lost in its own, what does it want to do exactly? Does it strike the right balance? I don't know. It's a minutia thing. But on the whole, man, I came out of it actually like, okay, yeah, that was actually kind of refreshing. I didn't feel the same way I did out of Scream, out of some of the other slasher movies that we've gotten a lot in the last couple years. But yeah, dude, I'm here for it. Let me say that.
Going back to the two major points that really made me love this movie. Number one is David Gordon Green. David Gordon Green, I think he's right up there with Richard Linklater as one of the most underrated directors that is working today. David Gordon Green's tackled a lot of different stuff. He really rose to mainstream prominence with Pineapple Express. There was a period of time when he was tapped for a lot of like raunchy R-rated comedies. Outside of Pineapple Express, not many of them were good. There was that really bad Your Highness movie with Danny McBride and Natalie Portman, if you remember that. Yeah. And then there was also that equally awful Jonah Hill movie, The Sitter. But that was his mainstream break. But after that, then he kind of went back to his roots. his probably best movie was his first movie called George Washington, which was an indie movie, really good, made in the 90s. I think it was late 90s. And then he kind of hit a second act with his career in the mid 2010s. He did Prince Avalanche, a really good movie. You guys want a really thought-provoking movie that like will come up from behind and like kind of slap you across the face? Prince Avalanche with Paul Rudd and Emil Hirsch from Into the Wild. It's about two guys. The whole movie is them talking and painting dividing lines on highways. That's the whole movie. And it's really thought-provoking. It's called Prince Avalanche. There was that movie. There was the movie Joe with Nicolas Cage. Manglehorn was another good one with Al Pacino. So David Gordon Green, though, what I'm getting at here, one of the things I loved about Halloween Ends is that really technically the main character here is Rohan Campbell's Corey. And he is exactly the archetypal David Gordon Green protagonist, this helpless character in a hopeless, forgotten enclave in America. And as he's focusing, as Green is focusing on Corey, he pans out to look at like the fragile, damaged psyches of so many people in this enclave. He did that in George Washington. He did that in the movie Joe. He's done that a lot. That's kind of his bread and butter as a filmmaker, is like just almost like a bit more of like a linear harmony Corian of like, just the way he captures these like small, often rural areas and stuff. And he did that in the second movie. He did that in Halloween Kills by taking it macro. He's kind of went like micro, macro to micro with all of these sequels. And even if you love it or you hate it, you have to respect that, like, this is what happens when you have a trilogy that's put in the hands of, like, a few people.
Yeah.
Because it's not just David Gordon Green. It's Danny McBride. He was one of the co-writers on this, too.
Freaking Danny McBride.
Isn't it wild? I think Paul Brad Logan has been a writer on these before. There's obviously Jason Blum, it's Blumhouse production. But this is what happens when you have a trilogy with a vision. When you look back to a lot of these slasher franchises, the reason so many of them are like a damn roller coaster, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, the original Halloween franchise, is that every movie they were getting a new director. Yeah. They were getting a new director and a new writer. There was no consistency. It's the same problem that happened with the Paranormal Activity franchise. They got after Oren Peli left, it was just like any gun for hire that could take these movies. Yeah, we'll give it to the Catfish directors. You know what I mean? It could not have a singular vision. This trilogy, whether you like it or not, has a singular vision, and I was thoroughly impressed with it.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad you brought up Friday the 13th, because that is a perfect comparison when you look at those movies, and it goes from typical like slasher, like, genre film doing its own thing, to eventually fighting a wheelchair-bound telekinetic girl, to going into Manhattan and killing teenagers, and eventually space.
No cap. Jason Takes Manhattan is one of my favorites of the series.
Are you serious?
Having said that, I love Jason Takes Manhattan. Having said that, Jason Voorhees will always be my favorite slasher. Oh, for me personally, Jason's always been my favorite slasher. Having said that, there are more shitty Friday the 13th movies than good movies. And that's coming from an enormous Jason fan over here. The Friday the 13th sequels, outside of, in my opinion, Jason Takes Manhattan and the final chapter, most of them just suck. Nightmare on Elm Street ain't great, but Nightmare on Elm Street has some good sequels.
Yeah, even a good reboot like thing with New Nightmare.
Oh yeah, I at first I was like, don't tell me Jackie Earl Haley over here, but no, no, New Nightmare was good too. The Halloween movies, I haven't seen all of them. I've seen most of them. I know I've seen the first 4. I don't think I ever watched H2O. I don't think I ever saw H2O.
You're not missing much.
I still sleep nights. But again, I was a big fan of the Rob Zombie. It's not trilogy. The 2 Rob Zombie movies. I didn't appreciate the second one until rewatch. But I like these even better than the zombie movies. I really do. And I love the zombie movies. I think this trilogy is a lot more complete. What else say you, Dom?
I'm really just banking off of how well freaking the character of Corey actually was endearing and sympathetic before all that happened. But everyone here does their job, and the standouts really are, honestly, like James Jude Courtney as no, I'm sorry, that's Michael Myers. Oh my God,
Who
what's
plays
the name of this
Corey?
actor?
Rohan
Yeah,
Campbell?
Rohan Campbell. Thank you. Um, Rohan Campbell and Jamie Lee Curtis are the two big standouts here for me. Everyone else does their job adequately enough. And yeah, honestly, if I had to choose a main character, it would probably be Campbell in this case. Of course, Laurie is the true centerpiece of it all, but um, it really just caught me off guard because I was fearing this third movie of it being, oh no, is this going to be like a sad like attempt to bring closure to things while also shoehorning in a third massacre just for the hell of it. But no, it pulls a cool twist, and whether it was enough closure, it was for me as someone who doesn't have enough attachment.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. And if that's the case, then I think it's safe to say it generally does. You're not going to please all the fanboys out there. They don't even know what they want. And I say that as someone who is a fanboy for other things, and I don't know what I truly want. I say things that's like, oh, I want a good story. I want characters that matter. Okay, what the hell does that all mean, right? How do you get there actually? There's a lot, and a lot of times they don't get it 100%. But that's okay. That's the art. That's the fun of critiquing. So I'll leave it there for now.
There was something I was gonna say. Oh yeah, too. I saw a lot of, and this wasn't just audiences. This was critics too. A lot of people banging on Rohan Campbell's performance.
No, what? No.
A lot of critics were calling him. I thought he did well.
I thought he
did really
great.
Well. I felt bad for the poor SOB.
Yeah.
At certain times. Before he kind of shows his true colors, I really felt bad for this poor kid.
Yeah.
Especially what happens in that opening scene. I will say,
they
played
that is a great opening scene.
So damn well. You think you know where it's going, and it shattering. I didn't realize how effective it was until I was relaying it to my buddy who wasn't going to see the movie. I was relaying it to him on the phone, and I'm like, God, after just telling you about that, man, was that good.
As someone who I don't think did I see the 2018 Halloween.
I don't think you did.
Remember.
I think we forced you to watch Halloween Kills and watch Anthony Michael Hall rage. I don't think.
Exactly. So
I don't think you saw the original.
At least for this movie and the previous movie, the big theme that I got from it was that fear is infectious. Fear is a disease that will result in more deaths if you don't actively combat it or face up to it in the proper ways. That was very clear in the last movie, 1000%. And in this one, it manifests into an entirely different character, which was really cool to see. Sticking to those core beliefs, it really does turn Campbell's character into a really tragic one.
Yeah.
Because in that opening scene, he's giving off like Clark Kent kind of vibes, just innocent, Midwestern kid about to go to college, I think. He's glasses, handsome, not particularly, hot or great looking.
Likes chocolate milk. I'm like, my dude.
But it's like, he does look kind of all right. But then, things just take a turn for the absolute worst, guilt-ridden. You have so much sympathy, so mumuch empathy, and it's like, this sucks. This sucks that it kind of wound up this way, but that's how things turn out.
Yeah.
This is the after. The fact that Michael Myers himself, the big baddie, does not get as much screen time as you think you would for the big finisher. It's like, no, he doesn't need to be there. The whole point is that this is fear. This is the effect of the pure evil. Doesn't need to be there. Doesn't need to kill people. The fear does that for you. We saw that in the last movie, but it's particularly present now. I think the thing with the last movie is that it got really chaotic, and that's not necessarily a bad thing inherently, but it got real messy with it. This one, here, the theme was consolidated to one character who got the brunt of it all. And I actually think that is why I do consider this one better than the previous Kills.
That's fair.
As fun as those riot and mob scenes freaking were, Evil Dies Tonight. It's like, dude, I'm still laughing about it, which probably shouldn't be the effect, but yeah.
I am definitely in like the 5% of people who loved Halloween Kills.
I did
not
enjoy
a
it.
lot
I
of
did
people
enjoy it.
did. I loved it because it combined two of my favorite things: mercilessly bloody kills in a slasher movie
Oh
that
man.
they did not cut away from. That was another thing I noticed in rewatching it. I'm like, normally there's a lot of movies that would cut away. They don't. It's almost like Green doubled down in Halloween Kills and the scene I can't get over is when you see the firefighter's perspective and Michael Myers slamming the pickaxe into his helmet.
Yeah.
There's a lot of scenes in Halloween Kills that a lot of to avoid NC-17, they would have cut away from.
It is not shy on the kills part of that title. That is for sure. It does not shy away from that.
But the two things I loved about Kills was it found a way to be mercilessly bloody and brutal and miserable, but also relevant. And as Dom said, have a very easily digestible takeaway theme that connected back to the original.
Yeah.
And with this movie too, it doesn't look as broad. It doesn't focus on the entirety of Haddonfield. And it still finds ways. I thought it was deft in the way that it still didn't get too wrapped up in Corey that it forgot Laurie.
Yes, I want to jump
yes.
back to her because I mean, like, look, I'm also in the camp that I think Corey's character was fine. I think Campbell did a good job playing him too. But like, I really did actually enjoy seeing Laurie be a human being because I felt so sorry for her the last two movies, 2018 especially, where she cuts herself off from her family, and everything. It felt nice actually seeing that, and I absolutely loved the little romance that her and the sheriff have, or the deputy from the original Halloween, who is just still a sheriff of a town of Haddonfield. I love that little romance they had. I love that they just kind of played with it. They made it feel human. They really did a good job. But man, when she's gotta be a badass, she turns gears for that, man. She gets you okay, her big moment in the movie near the end, I was like, that was badass. Only Jamie Lee Curtis can pull this off, man. She is so damn good in this.
Yeah, I really am happy they didn't neglect Laurie here. I thought they did Laurie very well, and I thought it was right too.
Mm-hmm.
After showing the first movie when she's just totally off the grid and has been pretty much estranged from her family, to going in the second movie when she's basically confined helpless in a hospital bed. The third movie, she's put together. She's healing. She's stable. She lives with Allison, her granddaughter. It was kind of nice for once not to see her portrayed as like a nutcase.
Yeah.
They did. And that's where I think that everybody was so pissed off with the way they took this movie. They don't realize that either. That like Green and McBride, they gave her a little bit more. They made her competent enough to actually stand on her 2 feet. She wasn't just this gun wielding, trauma ball like she was in the previous two movies. They gave her, not only did they give her more humanization, she's still tough. She's still resourceful and instinctive.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the last 20 minutes of this movie are, I thought, supremely satisfying.
I talked to one person who told me they regressed her character, she has gone backwards, and I said, where? Where does that happen in the story? You think her not being traumatized or being prepared for Michael to come back at any minute means she's gone backwards as a character? Then you're not picking up I hate to say it, man. If you're watching the show, you don't know what writing is. All right, I'm just gonna say.
I don't either, but I know when it's not bad.
No, I was satisfied by how they did Laurie. What were you saying?
I was gonna say I have a few criticisms with the movie. Kind of Dom was talking about them, where it's not everything does work. I think mainly this romantic subplot between Allison and Corey, I wasn't crazy about.
It's so fast.
It's like they
so
know
fast.
each other for hours, and like it's Romeo and Juliet levels of like, I will die for you, I will kill for you, I will do this for
within
you.
like minutes.
It's
it
just
feels
like,
like
whoa. I'm like, come on, all right.
I get the love at first sight because and she taps into it where it's like, yeah, no, I feel for you in this way because I relate to you because we're both kind of outcasts. And then he's like, oh, sure, but you're not as much of an outcast as I am. And so it's good that they do tap into that, but it is just too much. It doesn't make any of her choices believable, and she suffers as a character as a result.
It makes sense why they are attracted to each other. Like, you know, I get the reasoning behind it. It's just the way it's handled. I was just like, it's so rushed. It doesn't feel like authentic at all. I'm like, thank God the other aspect of Corey's character works so well, where I felt like, okay, I'm so on board with what you're doing with this character here than I am in this romantic subplot. And because of that, I hate to say it, but like Allison, who I felt like the last movie was getting some screen time to like show off everything like that, like, you know, she's like ready to throw down with Michael herself. In this movie, other than that subplot, she's got nothing to do really, and it kind of sucks. The scenes between her and her grandmother are good, but other than that, like, that character really has nothing to do. My last thing, and then like I'll pass off to you guys before we go to our Zoom sponsored intermission. I get Haddonfield has turned evil itself, basically. Like, you know, they're starting to be assholes to one another, but I'm getting sick and tired of these horror movie high school bullies, especially this discount Christopher Moltisanti looking motherfucker from Sopranos. Like, this guy was annoying the hell out of me. It was just like, okay, come on, like, do we really need a high school bully in these movies again? Like, I get it. I get what you're trying to say. I thought the other characters, like the DJ, the person that's like kind of goes off on Lori in the parking lot of the grocery store, I get why like Haddonfield has become this, and I think those like interactions work better. This was just like, again, we're doing this again. Are you serious right now? High school bullies in a horror film that are like Stephen
and not
King.
just, I will say, not just any high school bullies. They're the goddamn marching band.
They're nerds.
These pencil shaving ass villains, pencil shaving eating ass villains over here. You know, I'm like, if I was Corey, I'm like, Corey, you could do better. I'm like, when that first scene when he comes out and he gets so pissed he breaks the bottle of Yoo-hoo in his hand or whatever. I was like, I just looked this kid in the eye and be like, you look like you get bullied on MySpace. You know,
for the record,
like you get bullied on Minecraft.
For the past 10 to 15 years, it's all crept over. Some would say the cliques never really existed all that much to begin with.
Yeah.
But they've really blended into each other now. So yeah, nerds are hot. Freaking football players are losers, and it's it goes all over the place now. So in that sense, okay, whatever. But yeah, I didn't mind it too much, but that's only because it's like, okay, this is a trope. I'm just gonna, push it to the back of my mind. He needs to be there for this reason. Could have been a better way to do that. Maybe make it more sympathetic, like someone who's so engulfed by fear, again, hanging onto that theme that they decide to do horrible things. Reinforcing the theme as opposed to just create a generic asshole. Yeah.
It feels like they're gonna do something with it when like you see actually like one of the high school bullies, their father is abusive to them.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, they might bring up something here with that. And like, how
they had a humanizing moment there.
Yeah, like it was like, okay, that would be fine. Like, I mean, the high school bully could have still been an asshole, leading to, in my opinion, a very satisfying kill. But they just don't do anything, and they just become the typical like high school bullies you see in any Stephen King movie or adaptation. Especially like the 2017 version of it. That's what these kids reminded me of. I was like, Jesus Christ, man. I've never seen psychopaths since this movie.
I gotta cut you off here. We're butting up against the Zoom-sponsored intermission. We'll be back in about 60 to 90 seconds. Don't go anywhere. This is Sleepless with Steve. Back with Sleepless with Steve after our Zoom-sponsored intermission. We are talking Halloween Ends. Will it end? Well, it depends on how much money this thing makes. I guess this trilogy ended. I don't think the whole future of this series has ended. Side note, too, just so you guys know, a year from now, this show a year from now, you know what we're going to be discussing, right?
The Exorcist movie.
David Gordon Green's The Exorcist.
Yeah. Which I was gonna bring it up.
13th.
Yeah, I was gonna bring it up when I did my final thoughts and everything of how after seeing how he did with this trilogy and the idea that the Exorcist movie is gonna kind of follow the same idea of hey, it's a sequel to the original, and it's just man, after seeing what you did with this, I'm excited to see what you do with. And he's doing a Hellraiser TV show as well, so it's I cannot wait to see.
Yeah, he's definitely went from his indie phase to his comedy phase to his horror phase here. David Gordon Green's fascinating in this respect, too. And this is apropos of nothing as I kind of dawdle with my closing thoughts here, but I will say, I think it was you who shared it on Twitter or something about the poster for this movie, about how the poster was and Dom, do you know what I'm talking about? The poster,
just go ahead.
All the paratext for this movie, all the posters and everything, it just says ends this Halloween. And it's is the movie called Ends? No, it's called Halloween Ends. Does it come out on Halloween? No, it comes out on October 14th. It was kind of stupid. It is kind of stupid. It is
just a tad bit.
They should have said Ends October 14th. That's what it should have been. At least they put the title on there. It wasn't like the Northman situation. But at any rate, I'll parlay into my closing thoughts here. I thoroughly enjoyed not only this installment, but this series. You don't have to love David Gordon Green and Danny McBride's approach, but you have to respect the fact that James Blum and Blumhouse really allowed their vision to be fully realized. Almost, and I said this in the beginning, almost every horror franchise has more bumps than an unpaved country road because of the revolving door of these pedestrian writers and directors that start new plot threads, leave others untied, offer new perspectives of world building that are completely abandoned by number 5. What Green does at best as a writer-director, he does best here. He affords drama, suspense, and human emotion into something that you least expect. It takes a totally different approach with this movie. I enjoyed the hell out of it. 3 out of 4 stars. I can't wait to go back to this trilogy. I'm even thinking that next Halloween, I'm going to do a Halloween marathon all the way back from 78 to the present. And I think how I'm going to spend Halloween, I'm going to watch
all
them
of them.
All of them. The original franchise, the zombie movies again, and then this trilogy.
I'll drive up for this trilogy to hang out with you to watch that.
What I think I'm going to wind up doing, truthfully, I'm thinking about this, because Halloween's on a Tuesday, the second shittiest day of the year to have Halloween, aside from this year Monday. I think what I'm going to do then is when I get off of work next year on Halloween, I'm going to watch Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends all in a row. I think I'm just going to watch them all in a row like I did Jeepers Creepers a couple years ago, and be one happy camper. So I think that's what I'm planning on doing. It's 3 out of 4 stars for me. All 3 of these movies, too, it's worth noting, have gotten 3 stars from me. I've enjoyed the hell out of this trilogy, and I think Halloween from 78, the original, is obviously a stone cold classic that is on the short list of horror movies, but this is better than the original trilogy. Not one of these movies is better than the 78 movie. That being said, the original trilogy versus this one, David Gordon Green's trilogy takes the cake. This is far and away superior. When
you say the original trilogy, are you actually saying Halloween 1, 2, and Season of the Witch, or Halloween 1, 2, and 4?
I'm saying 1, 2, and Season of the Witch.
Okay, all right.
But if you want to do 1, 2, and 4, I think it's even better.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to do 1, 2, and 4, 4 has interesting moments. I'm a fan of Season of the Witch. 4 has interesting moments, but it's not a great movie. It's almost kind of a remake of the original.
Yeah.
This trilogy kicks the original trilogy's ass, though, and it's not even particularly close, in my opinion. That being said, we'll go Joe, then Dom for closing thoughts.
Yeah, man. I mean, this movie... it kept me guessing throughout the whole time I was watching it. I thought I had this movie picked for where it was gonna go, and next thing you know, the first 10 minutes they do something, and I'm completely thrown for a loop. And I'm like, okay, now this can go anywhere. I did not expect it to start like this. I legit thought this movie was gonna just be Michael Myers slowly creeping around Haddonfield, all injured, killing people off. And I probably would have been fine with it that it was that. I'm just really happy it wasn't, because what we got instead, I think, was way better. This movie to me, I know a lot of people are hating it, but I'm in the same boat as Steve. I think in 5 years, whatever, it's going to be another season of The Witch. People are going to come around on it. It has made me go back and look at a previous film of this trilogy that I wasn't crazy about and appreciated even way more. And I can't wait to rewatch all 3 films myself, because I really do think, and this is very rare, especially for horror trilogies in general, it's very rare, I think, to like actually feel like, wow, all 3 of these movies actually really build off one another on what they wanted to do. That is a hard thing to do with horror, because sometimes you just get lost in the killing, and as Steve has brought up a lot of times too, a studio will just abandon a director's vision to just bring back a favorite, like, you know, killer, or just like cater to the audience. Hell, we saw it with what happened with the original Halloween trilogy. You know, 3 was supposed to be the star of the anthology series of Halloween movies, where it's just different things that happen on Halloween night, and they backpedaled on it because they got too scared. I'm very happy there's, you know, studios like Blumhouse that are willing to give Gordon Green this much creative control, because he's delivered, I think, a very good Halloween conclusion and a very good trilogy at that. It is also 3 out of 4 stars for me. A very enthusiastic 3 out of 4 stars.
Dom, send us home on Halloween Ends. End it all.
3 out of 4 stars. We are in unison here. Any critiques, of which there are, but all of them are just missteps to the greater message here. That is a pretty good movie, and something that has emotional impact. It has a theme that it inherited and maintained, and it is, you know, again, you know, of the 2 romances here, one is 2 old people looking at each other in a supermarket, and the other is 2 hot young people making out. And I was more invested in the 2 old people in the supermarket. But still, again, at the end of the day, it is actually quite satisfying conclusion for this trilogy and where it leaves its characters. And I'm after this, where does the franchise go? Ideally, for an artistic sense, nowhere, because it's over. But you know how Hollywood does. But the fact that I can't see it going anywhere else, and I can't feel it going anywhere else, and anything else on top of that, I just can plainly ignore. That means you've done something pretty well with that conclusion. So I'm happy to say 3 out of 4.
I dig it, and I'm glad that we were here first. Everybody's got to catch up to us in 5 years. Everybody's got to catch up to us in 5 years with this thing. We will seg now. We will seg very smooth. As much as I'm mad that I'm going to miss next week's show, I'm very glad we got to talk about Halloween Ends, though. I'm very happy.
I was feeling the same way, too. I was like, damn, I really wish all 3 of us were here for next show, because, like, it's been a journey with Dom experiencing this many horror films, I think, in 1 year. But it would have been so cool to have all of our perspectives. You know, Steve, who has grown up with slashers and everything, myself too, and then Dom, who is just, you know, I'm not gonna say relatively new, but definitely kind of broke a new ceiling, I think, when it came to the amount of horror films he's watched in 1 year.
Very happy you've come out of your shell on horror movies at least a little bit, Dom. That being said, I really wish we could watch Barbarian, but I'm not going to put you through that.
No.
I appreciate it.
I will never.
No, that's the thing too. I would love for us to discuss it, Dom, but you will not sleep watching that movie. That movie is terrifying.
If Steve it made us watch that movie, I would have typed you up a review to read. I would have been like, just act like you saw it.
Like, it's a great movie, but even at times it made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like that's how dirty and that's how disgusting it is. That all being said, though, we've got a totally different topic to talk about. Cartoon Network. Home of Ed, Ed, and Eddie. It will always be home of Ed, Ed, and Eddie for me until I die. But first off, you know what? Just because Warner Brothers Discovery cannot stay out of the goddamn news, there's actually breaking news right now with Warner Brothers that I don't know if you guys have seen this yet. The boss of DC Films is out.
Yep.
Walter Amada. Walter Amato's out, and Warner Brothers Discovery is finalizing an exit payout. I don't know if this was brewing. I haven't read anything beyond the headline. I don't know if this was brewing or this was kind of rumored, and this was kind of like not a surprising thing, but Truth be told, gun to my head, I couldn't have told you the DC Films president's name before today. Gun to my head, I wouldn't have been able to tell you. But yeah, Walter Amada is out. Warner Brothers Discovery and DC Films right on the eve of Black Adam coming to theaters. But anyway, we've got other things to talk about. We're a bit behind on this story, but it's still kind of lingering. Warner Brothers continues with the layoffs. They continue gutting their own thing because they have so much debt with the acquisition of Discovery, and now they got the same people that brought you Naked and Alone, or I don't know, Living in Fear with Bears, or whatever types of show they make, or something like that. They got the president of Discovery running this whole operation now and butchering it to high hell and HBO Max and everything, as we've talked about extensively on this show. Well, as of last week, Warner Brothers now extended their layoffs to TV. The studio cut a quarter of their damn workforce, and they're merging unscripted and animation divisions. Now, this is noteworthy for one big thing. Discovery is pretty much all unscripted television. That's pretty much all their whole business model is reality TV. What do they call it? What do they call it in their quarterly earnings report? Lean backward entertainment versus
lean forward versus lean back. Yeah,
that's great. That shows you the quality standard they implement with their shows.
It's actually a good moniker. If only they were self-aware to realize how freaking unpassionate that makes it all sound.
Would you love to be known as somebody who produces lean backward content? I mean, you want to talk about the most dehumanizing way to talk about TV shows or anything creative? That content's more lean back than lean forward. What an awful descriptor. But anyway.
We have more content that you could pull out your phone and look at while it plays in the background.
That might be one of your best quotes of the year. Say that again.
We have more content where you can pull out your phone while it plays in the background.
This is an amazing TV show that will compliment you scrolling through TikTok.
Hey, at least Jeffrey Katzenberg had the good sense to know that it wouldn't last longer than 5 minutes. Or what was his business plan? 15 minutes? Something like that.
Yeah, Quibi.
Yeah.
Quibi, Quick Bite. What was it?
Yeah,
it was like 10 minutes.
10 minutes or something, like very bite-sized content. Anyway, man, we're going off the rails.
Daily episode release, though. I mean, like, that's, yeah.
Oh, God. But... yeah, we're down a rabbit hole here. I'm going to throw it over to Dom, because there's been one sector of this whole new round of Warner Brothers Discovery's layoffs, and that sector is Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network Adult Swim, big part of HBO Max. It's got their own hub on there. It's got their own little section on there. It's definitely HBO Max, since it became available, has been honestly an amazing resource for kid content too.
Yeah,
it's been an amazing resource for kid and adult centric animation. I swear to God, if there was a pie chart for what you use HBO Max for, I'm telling you right now, probably about 35% of what I use it for is cartoons. Is either old stuff for what I grew up with, or just a lot of Adult Swim shows that I really like. But anyway, Dom, to kind of break this down and tell us what we need to know, you have the floor to talk about Cartoon Network in this latest round of layoffs.
Is Cartoon Network dead? That depends on how you view it. The brand is still there. It's still there, and right now, I think, at least I saw this afternoon, there is a YouTube channel showing 30 years of Cartoon Network doing like a marathon of all their stuff for free on YouTube. It's a live stream, just back-to-back whatever on Cartoon Network's greatest hits, and that's great. It's still going to be there, but it has been gutted. That is going to be the key word here. Absolutely gutted. 25% of its workforce, 125 positions axed. That includes 40 something that they have outright just laid off, and then the rest being positions that they haven't been filling, and they will officially now just axe altogether. And that is paramount to taking the legs out of it. That you could say it is a corpse of its former self. If you're a gamer, that's like saying, I wish Bungie would take on the old Halo again. Well, they could in theory, but they're not going to make the same Halos that you think, right? You could say that with a bunch of other things as well. But yeah, dude, again, I think dead is a little too much to say, but it won't be the same. That's for sure. At least unless they make a concerted effort to bring back some of its older creation. And looking back on it, it's a little heart wrenching because I grew up with the "what a cartoon!" exclamation mark, stuff like that back in the '90s, bro. That was something else.
Yeah.
Ted Turner was just on a spree. It's like whatever the hell you kids want. I don't.
I absolutely love the bumpers between shows of like all the cartoons living in the city. Those were so cool.
TV was different, and Adult Swim carries on that tradition. Yeah. But TV was just something different back then.
Adult Swim might be the one network where watching it on terrestrial cable or watching actually the network itself live enhances the experience with the bumps, the ads. Because a lot of the ads, it's not just like Blue Chew ads and you know what I mean, and call now 1-900. It's like ads for their shows that enhances the whole experience. The bumpers get weirder as the night goes on. I love watching Adult Swim, even if I don't love the shows. I love just the whole vibe Adult Swim has cultivated has been absolutely remarkable.
What's Blue Chew? No, I'm kidding. What? Yeah, dude.
Turn on any podcast except this one.
It's just sad to see everything from Dexter's Lab, Samurai Jack, Powerpuff Girls. It goes down the line because whatever year you were born, you got a different subset of that. But we're not here to necessarily lament it. We don't want to lament it completely because it isn't truly dead, but it is being transformed, and this is as a result of the large. This is like a war, man. You could dress this up as I'm gonna be over the top here, but this is like a war on freaking creativity on so many levels that it has different theaters of war. Man, World War II, you got the Pacific Theater, you got the Eastern Front, you got North Africa, you got Europe. This is like that, man. You got cartoons, you got horror movies, you got scripted content, unscripted content. It's all over the place. And what will it touch next? Man, you don't know, man. This is that. So we're gonna focus in on this, and yeah, dude, it is Cartoon Network's staff is now being merged with Warner Brothers Animation, and here's a studio you didn't know: Hanna-Barbera Studios Europe. And as you know, I have a beef with Hanna-Barbera just in general, but
I'd be dancing on this man's grave every day.
Hold on. Hanna-Barbera Studios Europe, as it existed up until now, was responsible, apparently, for I just found this out with this story, but for some pretty damn cool stuff, including Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Amazing World of Gumball, which I haven't seen too much, but Gumball is actually pretty badass because it's got some pretty witty humor. It combines so many aspects of animation in such a clever way. Honestly, if I had to choose between like Adventure Time, Steven Universe, and Gumball, I might actually, if I had the time to dedicate to one, I would probably do Gumball just based off of that alone. So, don't sleep on what Hanna-Barbera Studios Europe is doing now, apparently. But in the past decade or so, 2007 is when it was founded. But yeah, dude, all three of those are coming together, and it's like, how is that restructuring going to work? The only people that are truly going to know are the people being merged, and none of us are really insiders. None of us are animators. None of us have worked in studios. Between the three of us, none of us have probably drawn anything past a stick figure in the past 20 years. But just knowing how mergers go, it's so many things are going to get lost in the process. If you were hoping for like, man, I want a Time Squad reboot, you're not going to get that. You're definitely not going to get that now. Like, oh yeah, you wanted the Life and Times of Juniper Lee revival? Not going to happen now, bro. It's all going to come. It's all the faculty is going to come here together, and they're probably going to hone in on the big stuff. You might see a Foster's revival. I don't know. That's complete conjecture on my end.
I think they're actually working on it because I think I saw the creator on Twitter talking about how there was a thing I saw today in one of the groups I'm a part of on Facebook. I'm almost positive a Foster's reboot's coming because they said because the creator was talking to another person on Twitter and said that like studios aren't interested in originals right now. They want pre-existing IP.
Exactly.
And then the guy asked him, and it was an innocent conversation. The guy asked, "Have you pitched originals?" And he goes, and the creator followed up by saying, he goes, "I pitched 16 originals to Netflix."
Yeah.
And
And
Netflix,
now
out
he's
of all
like,
the
"Foster's
people,
is
too.
coming back, baby."
Yeah, dude. The regurgitation of media that we've seen in the past 10 to 20 years, and you could easily say, well, before that, but particularly these days, I'll say 10 years, just to really hone in on it. What does this merger mean? Even more regurgitation, projectile regurgitation now. And,
Yep.
some revivals may be great. And I pray that, anything that is made is good and can contribute something to the world. I'm always rooting for things to be good. But how things go, maybe not necessarily. It might wind up being a little emptier as a result. Maybe more like a Powerpuff Girls reboot, which isn't bad. It wasn't garbage, but it was kind of as a result. Didn't quite feel it as much. And you might be seeing more of that in the future. Additionally, if you were hoping for a revival of the older things, of the things that were more diamonds in the rough, small, tiny specks of diamonds in the rough, you are less likely to see that. And then finally, yes, new, as Steve was saying, and original things, maybe. It's hard to say. They will have to prove that they would be invested in new IPs, intellectual properties, but it is less likely. Again, just based off the track record of what we've seen, not just with Warner Brothers Discovery, but with other things that have merged and come together. That is the pattern that we have seen, and that is the pattern that I think we're going to bank on for now until we are proven wrong. And then of course the other story here is, as always, people get laid off. It sucks. It's sad. Hardworking people, particularly animators, the bread and butter of all of this. Just gonna have to move on. I'm sure the internet, I'm sure a lot of them are going to be taking up furry commissions, because those are the bread and butters of so many, at least the younger folks. So many commissions, but jokes aside, it's just a shame to see. And yeah, dude, I am waiting to see what happens now with all of these studios coming together, all of these talents coming together, what direction they're going to take. It's not particularly hopeful, particularly under this larger umbrella. But this is, ladies and gentlemen, this is the latest theater of war to be embattled here. And there's a sad letter here to say. It's unfortunate. I don't really want to hone in on it too much. But it's up in the air. It's up in the air, as with a lot of other people's jobs. There could be more layoffs. But yeah, dude, how they're gonna merge the Warner Bros., the superhero DC animation with more so the Cartoon Network people. I don't know. I just don't know.
How are they going to fit the two writers of animation with what did I call it earlier? Living naked in the woods with bears or something.
Mm-hmm.
one of their shows and stuff. I almost have nothing else to add. You eloquently summed that up.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, like, because it's just what sucks too is that, like, I don't want to go too much longer here. We're already bleeding into OT, but like, what sucks is everything that comes out with Warner Brothers Discovery now is just so downtrodden bad news. I mean, like a year ago, I just think about like a year and a half ago, we're talking about HBO, how it's got some of the best content, how it's an ascending streaming service, all the projects that got lined up and everything like that. And it's just ever since the summer, ever since like August, it's just been one downward spiral. And it almost kind of like, we knew Warner Brothers and Discovery merged, but it almost kind of came out of nowhere. In the way that stuff started disappearing from HBO Max, the future's muggy, and we don't even know what the hell this new streaming service is going to look like either.
Yeah, we really don't.
If I won't go on too long with just my points, because Dom, you basically like really just hit everything. But for me, like, this wasn't too much of a surprise because, like, again, when Zaslav came in and he's like, yeah, I don't care about TV. I want to do movies. And, like, I'll even show it here on the screen. When you think about just, like, Warner Bros. Animated, and you look at the amount of theatrical movies they've done compared to direct-to-DVD or just television stuff, it's night and day. There's very few animated movies from Warner Brothers compared to, like, Sony Pictures Animated, Disney, Pixar, hell, Illumination, where it's like they have so many theatrical licenses or franchises out there now. And then you look at Warner Brothers Animated, and it's just like, bank on the next Scooby-Doo with John Cena, bank on the next Scooby-Doo with Kiss, next Scooby-Doo pirate theme, Tom and Jerry and Fast and Furious, Batman, 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 Batman. It's just like, very few times you actually get, like, the Lego movie was the most refreshing Warner Brothers animated movie because it was like, holy crap, you guys actually did something.
That was Warner Brothers?
That was Warner Brothers. Yeah, see,
that
you didn't even
know.
Feel
right. That almost doesn't feel right.
Because then eventually,
because of that pattern.
And then eventually, look what happened. They threw a Batman Lego movie out there, which, I like Lego Batman, but like,
that makes sense. Yeah, the Lego Batman. Yeah, no.
And then
wonder.
they did the Lego Ninjago, and then by the time I remember, Lego Movie 2 didn't perform that well because by that point the market was just saturated.
It was like all it took was 4 movies back to back to back that came out way too close to one another, and like people got tired of it. Warner Brothers Animated, they've never really like found their footing when it came to animated theatrical stuff. So I knew like when it came to one of the departments they were just gonna cut, it was gonna be like the animated one. They were gonna do something with it. It sucks because, I do enjoy, like as Steve said, some of the cartoons that we've gotten when we grew up with, even Don pointed out as well. And I do enjoy the Adult Swim stuff, and like as Don pointed out, Gumball, Adventure Time, these are some of the newer ones. Infinity Train is another one where it's like, yeah, these are cartoons and they're on Cartoon Network, but like there's actually some really witty writing to this, and the storylines are like actually insanely cool. But in terms of theatrical stuff, it's just the same old crap. So it's like, dude, man, your most original movies are the Lego Movie and the Iron Giant. Like that, those are the only movies. Like, and even the Lego Movie has characters from like other like franchises popping up in it. The Iron Giant's the only thing I could think of where it's like, there's not a Bugs Bunny, there's not a Batman, there's nothing else popping up in here. Oh, Osmosis Jones as well. There we go. There's your 2 movies.
That's an OG.
Sure.
Better than nothing, I suppose.
Yeah.
But well stated, guys. Another great show in the books. I'm off next week. These 2 gents are going to spend your evening talking about some of the best horror movies of 2022 so far. Just really all the great horror movies of 2022. I wish I could offer some perspective, but you guys won't have to listen to me rant about Jeepers Creepers Reborn being one of the worst movies of the year. So consider yourselves lucky in that department. But I look forward. Hopefully I get a chance to watch the show next week, as do all of you, do my part to promote it and such. And then we are coming back then next month. We've got a lot going on next month. I was trying to think what's the first we might be reviewing Tar. We might be reviewing the Cate Blanchett movie the first week. That's still up in the air, TBD on that one. And then we also got Weird, the Al Yankovic story too, coming next month as well. And which I know all 3 of us are pretty primed to review.
Looking forward to that one. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty stoked for that. I'm going to listen to going to bump some old school Weird Al too in preparation for that movie. That's our show tonight. Greatly appreciate not only you watching, but also these 2 gentlemen who make doing this show fly right on by every single week. For Joe Viso, Dominic Guanzon, and yours truly, this has been Sleepless with Steve.